All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the November 26th meeting of the Garden Grove City Council. We're actually going to open with the Housing Authority, so let me go ahead and hand it over to Fat, who is the head of that committee.
I now to open the Housing Authority meetings. At this point, we will have oral communication, and I would like to ask for a roll call.
Commissioner Bradegum?
Here.
Commissioner Jones?
Here.
Commissioner Klopfenstein?
Here.
Commissioner Tuha Nguyen?
Here.
Commissioner O'Neill?
Here.
Commissioner Solorio?
Here.
Vice Chair Kim Nguyen?
Here.
And Chair Bui.
Yeah.
And Commissioner Beckles is absent.
I now would like to open the oral communication, and I will have one speaker, Greg Duffy. Three minutes, please, because we have a lot of people who would like to speak afterward.
Well, do I get the before the closed session as well? Because I applied for it. Mayor, do I get that as well?
I'm sorry, what are you saying?
No.
Before the closed session, I put my card in to speak, and I didn't get to do that, so.
We're gonna do-
This is for
I know, but I just
Housing
wanna clarify
Authority.
all
Specifically
that.
for housing, so go ahead and do that. And I'll
That's fine. Thank you,
I saw
Mayor.
you have a card
Thank
for
you,
oral
Fred.
for whatever,
Thank
and
you.
I'll address you at that time.
Thank you, sir. Yes, I wanted to bring your attention to housing. I was talking to a homeless person before the meeting, and according to him, I don't know, I've done the research, so I'll be honest, we don't have a plan. And that area that it's going to be considered it's affecting our parks. I've heard staff say that our parks are inundated with homeless. It affects the kids' well-being in terms of free play and during their day. The teachers have told me they need that ability to exercise and stretch out. That we're impeding our urban design in terms of our culture. I think we need to be more wiser. I grew up here in '56 as our Councilman O'Neill and our police chief. We saw cow pastures. We had not an urban plan design. And now we have land there that's the golf course can do for other purposes. And we have to think about our plan for homeless. I attend the homeless meetings, and Mr. Stout can verify that. And I've helped your committee of OC building there for your county region. I really think that we're not having the concept of our committees understanding the holistic approach. I'm in Sacramento in the afternoon Congress, and it seems like this city of council, when I get into it down further, is not connecting the dots in terms of the issue of funds. Your housing of your, on 108th page of your park recreation 50-year plan calls for the housing committee to join with their city to get funds for their park recreation rebuilding. This is something you need to be more detail in terms of getting the federal funds or state funds to build your parks again. This logic of this organization and relying on everybody else to do it ain't what work anymore. There are millions of dollars you're losing on another phase when I'll talk about. But I encourage this council, which you are elected and are appointed, to start writing your own letters like I do and let you know that we need these things besides rely on staff, please. This is something that is affecting our kids. Our councilman says that the homeless is an issue, and it's not being dealt with appropriately in the housing authority. Will you have the ability with this design to make sure that, according to him, the homeless person said there are money ready to pay for it? Start thinking about having an ordinance regarding building of these structures so they can put them in a correct place. He's working, but he's homeless. So we need to think more than just, well, we're going to build a new McDonald's and we're going to get the revenue, because there's associated with that traffic conditions. Have you ever thought about what Copenhagen is doing? They already tried to buy close by because we're bringing more housing because of the granny flat and then the Newsom signed into law. You can take garages to make home on. We're going to have an urban density that we've never thought before because we're not thinking ahead. I urge this body of government to do more than just vote for things. Become active like I have and try to help the community rather than just vote for things, because it's not going to solve the problem. Okay? Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Duffy. Is there any other people would like to make any comment on the Housing Authority subject? Please. And please indicate your name.
Hi, my name is Patrick O'Connor, 56-year resident of Garden Grove here. Went to St. Columbans, went to Garden Grove High School. I used to work for the city of Garden Grove. I love the city. I'm that homeless person. I have a job. I've worked my whole life. I just can't afford a place to live. And all the affordable housing, I think the waiting list is, 7 years, if it's even open right now? I think they're not even accepting applications. So I wondered, what can I do to help spur the building of some kind of homeless shelter? Or is there anything I can do, or are you concerned? I mean, surely everyone has heard about the library situation, you know. That's the only place we can go to charge our cell phones and go on the internet. So if we had a shelter, they have, you know, plenty of charging stations, we have internet. I stayed at the one in Anaheim for a brief time, but it's too far away from my job. I work down here, so. Is there anything I can help do, or as a liaison between the homeless people? I would tell you, all the people will clear out of the library if we could just get a place to go. You know, where else can we go during the day? There's nowhere else to go. I know it's an eyesore. I don't like hanging out there, but I have nowhere else to plug in my phone, you know, so I can get to work. So I was that homeless guy he was talking about. But does the city council, and it won't even cost any money, the county or the state puts up the funds for those homeless shelters. So it won't cost the city any money. Maybe down near the industrial area, Chapman and Knott would be a good location. That's like, there's no homes within like maybe a mile or two of there. And the way they do it, they bus the people in. You can't walk through the neighborhood or the business area. You get to be bussed in. So they would have like a remote location where people wait to get taken to the shelter. You know, we're not interfering with anybody's businesses. Is everyone for the idea, or is it? Well, I don't like being, you know, in front of the library either. So if we could work together, you know, that's all I'm asking.
Okay.
All right?
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Just to let the public, thank you.
Okay.
You may be seated. Just so that people understand what the Garden Grove Housing Authority Charter is, we administering the Section 8 grant from the federal, from the HUD. And so our main charter is to, administering the Section 8 grant, which would be in terms of voucher, and we will provide that to people who apply for the assistance. Right now, we have a very long backlog, and the waiting list is very long, and it saddens us. But we are very strictly governed by the HUD rule in terms of Section 8, and so it's very little room that we can do to help the homeless issue. The city, however, is working on a couple ideas to see what we can do with the shelter for the homeless. And that is outside of the housing authority. That will be done by the city council. For those who need help with temporary housings, please talk to our city staff to see. We can then direct you to other resources by other organizations that can help. In the meantime, then I would defer to, if you have any other question for our city council, then the mayor can address it when it comes to that. Is there anyone else who would like to address the housing authority? Hearing none, I now will close the oral communication, and we have two items for consent.
I'll move them.
Madam Clerk, please go for the vote.
Motion received, 8 yes votes.
Moving on to matter from the Housing Authority. Anyone who would like to bring up anything? With that, then I would like to adjourn the Housing Authority meeting to the next meeting on Tuesday, January 28th. And I would like now to return the meeting to the City Council. Mayor?
Have a great evening. All right, we'll now convene the meeting of the Garden Grove City Council. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Councilmember Brettingham.
Here.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Here.
Councilmember Tu Nguyen.
Here.
Councilmember Bowie.
Here.
Councilmember Kim Nguyen.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Klopfenstein.
Here.
And Mayor Jones.
Here. Can I ask Maria Stipe to do the invocation and then Councilmember Brettingham to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If everybody could please stand and prepare yourselves according to your faith. Dear Heavenly Father, as we meet here tonight to make decisions for our community, may we use only our best skills and judgment as we consider the merits of each matter before us. May we always act in accordance with what is best for our city and our fellow citizens. Amen.
Please face the flag, hand over heart, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. That takes us on to presentations. We do have several different community spotlights. So we're going to start with 1A, which is a spotlight in recognition of Sabroso Mexican Grill. I see Sam and the fam out in the audience. And so we'll go to Maria.
Before I get started, I think the city clerk may want you to may have a request, so let me turn it over to
Sorry.
her.
That's okay. I just would like to pull 4A
Okay.
to adopt the proclamation celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Garden Grove Regional Library on Stanford Avenue.
Okay. Can I pull 4A forward and can I move approval?
Second.
Call to vote?
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
This was an adoption of a proclamation celebrating the 50th anniversary of Garden Grove Regional Library on Stanford Avenue. And with that, do I have something?
Mr. Mayor, we're going to make that presentation following the spotlight.
Gotcha.
So we'll do that. That's going to be our third spotlight tonight.
Okay, so we're back to 1A?
Yes, 1A.
Got it.
Okay, so tonight, the Garden Grove City Council would like to recognize a local restaurant, Sabroso's Mexican Grill, for being one of Garden Grove's most popular dining options in the city. Would Paloma Munoz-San please come forward? Garden Grove, you can just stand right here in the front. Garden Grove values the importance of family-owned businesses to the city's local economy and quality of life. As a family-owned business, Sabroso's Mexican Grill was established by Chef Tito Munoz in 2012. It is currently run by Chef Tito's daughters, who take great pride in serving authentic Mexican dishes using recipes that have been passed down from generation to generation from Guerrero, Mexico. Continued commitment to upholding the same quality of authenticity, food, and service recognized by loyal diners. Chef Tito uses the freshest and highest quality ingredients to handcraft each dish. Sabroso's Mexican Grill has received several recognitions at the local and national level. In 2014, Guy Ferrari from the popular Food Network show Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives came to Garden Grove to record a special video segment highlighting Sabroso's Mexican Grill's signature dishes, chamorro and tamales. With over 2,000 customer reviews on Yelp with a rating of 4.5 stars, Sabroso's Mexican Grill listed on Yelp's top 100 places to eat in the U.S. in 2016. Sabroso's Mexican Grill graciously contributed to the city's 5th annual Garden Grove College Graduates Reception in 2017. Local graduates with degrees ranging from associate's to doctorate degrees were honored and celebrated for their achievements, and at that event, they got to enjoy Sabroso's Mexican Grill catered food. So thank you for your donation and contribution to that event. At this time, the mayor and city council would like to present Sabroso's Mexican Grill with a certificate in recognition of its accomplishments and for being one of the very most popular dining options in our city. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor. So we are very blessed to be here 7 years later. I wrote up that history of our background. My father was displaced after working for Claim Jumper for 30 years, and so he was in his late 50s when this happened in 2012 during the recession.
and basically was unhireable. So we came together to make his dream come true, and the rest is history. We're so blessed to be here in the city of Garden Grove. We have great support from all of you guys. We are so lucky to just meet wonderful people from local places as well as nationwide and all over the world, thanks to Triple D, the exposure that we got from Food Network Channel. And we hope to continue to expand our brand, our family restaurant for years to come, and just share all the greatness that comes from my parents' hometown of Guerrero, Mexico. So thank you again for this wonderful recognition. I represent my entire family. My father is right here too. He's the founding member of the restaurant. So Dad, if you want to stand up and just say hello. And for those of you that have not gone to Sabroso, I invite all of you guys to come out and try our homemade Mexican food. It's delicious. We have just quality in mind, and we use the freshest ingredients to provide just a quality experience and also a memorable one. And people have said that when they come to Sabroso, they feel like they're at home, getting fed by a friend. So we hope to stay in business for a very long time. Thank you. Yeah, come on over.
Bring them all up, Steve. Bring them
Please
all
come on
up.
up and let's do it. Yeah.
The whole familia.
Whoever you want to be in the
Yes.
pic, come on up. Yeah.
Including our 2-month-old baby is here. So good. Very special. Yeah, special.
Hello.
Who's watching the restaurant?
Good question.
Okay, good. I'm sure you do.
Del centro, por favor.
1 second.
Can I get you guys to scoot in a little bit this way? There you go. Sure, for sure.
George, you gotta send that to me, please.
You got it.
All right, let's go. And 1, 2, and 3. One more. 1, 2, and 3. This phone. 1, 2, and 3. Perfect.
I'll just put it right here.
All right. I see.
Home, sorry guys.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, please feel free to scoot out. Well, wait 1 second, let them clear out.
Thank you guys. Have a good night. Thank you so much.
Yes. Good call. All right.
Okay, we'll go ahead and go to the next item on our agenda, which is our next community spotlight. And now the Garden Grove City Council is very pleased to recognize the 2019 Miss Garden Grove and Miss Garden Grove's outstanding teen and their courts of honor. They have proudly served and represented the city since last September and recently passed on their crowns to the 2020 winners. As an official preliminary to the Miss America pageant, the Miss Garden Grove pageant distributes over $5,000 in scholarships to local young ladies each year. In addition to performing in a talent competition, each contestant promotes their community service platform based on a current issue she feels is important. I'd like to call forward the honorees present and give brief introductions. We ask that each of you stay up front so a group photo can be taken. So we'll get started with Mikey Pranda. So Mikey, if you can just come up and stand up here in front. Miss Garden Grove, Mikey Pranda. Mikey graduated from the University of California, Irvine in 2017 with a degree in biomedical engineering. She now works as a process development engineer for a medical device company. During her year of service, Mikey was an ambassador for the Children's Miracle Network Hospitals, and she advocated for her platform, Plant the Seed, empowering young women through STEM. She was sponsored by the Garden Grove Elks Lodge, number 1952. Representing the city and community with Miss Garden Grove was her court member, Caitlin Agatep. Is Caitlin here tonight? Okay, that's okay. I'll go ahead and give you a little bit of background about Caitlin, nevertheless. Caitlin was her court member, and Caitlin is currently at Long Beach City College working towards a degree in liberal arts. Caitlin works for the Garden Grove Unified School District as an instructional aide and hopes to become a special education teacher for Garden Grove Unified School District. She was sponsored by the Garden Grove Rotary Club, which I'm a proud member. Next, the City Council would also like to recognize Miss Garden Grove's outstanding teen, Cassidy Asley. Cassidy. And also, along with Cassidy, we'd like to recognize teen princess Sierra Bennett and Gracie Johnson. So if you can join the front of the stage here. Cassidy is currently attending the Orange County School of Arts. During her year of service, Cassidy was an ambassador for the Children's Miracle Network Hospitals as well, and she raised awareness for her platform, No Limits, a performing arts program for children with special needs. She was sponsored by Weimer and Associates. At Miss California this past June, Cassidy placed in the top 10 and won a talent award, so congratulations on that. She hopes to become an emergency medical technician during college with plans to become a physician's assistant specializing in pediatrics. Sierra Bennett is currently attending Garden Grove High School. She hopes to work with children in the future, and she was sponsored by Garden Grove Shell. And finally here, Gracie Johnson is currently attending Pacifica High School. She plans to get her bachelor's degree in elementary education and pursue a master's degree in administration. She was sponsored by Foundations Dance Company. We would also like to recognize Miss Garden Grove's outstanding teen court princess, Madison McCurdy, who could not be here tonight. At this time, the mayor and city council would like to present the Miss Garden Grove Scholarship Pageant outgoing title holders and their courts with certificates and mementos in recognition of their 2019 reign. The city council thanks you, and we hope that your aspirations lead you to continued success. Congratulations.
I have a problem with this check.
Well, hi everyone, good evening. As I mentioned, my name is Mikey Ponda. It's been an absolute honor to serve the city this past year. Many people often think that pageants are just girls parading around in nice dresses, and yes, that is a lot of fun, and that's part of it, but it's so much more than that. I have been competing in this organization for 4 years now, and throughout it I've earned thousands of scholarship money that I've been able to put towards education. I'm passionate about promoting STEM in their youth, as well as being an ambassador for the Children's Miracle Network. And this organization allows us to do that, but I am very adamant in saying that this organization, this Garden Grove organization, would not be here without support from all of you. So thank you so much. It's been a wonderful year, and we'll be around. We'll get rid of us. That easy. Thank you.
I want to say that I completely agree with Mikey here. I always tell people it's not a pageant, it's a scholarship competition. It's a way for girls like me to pay for college and not have to have student loans and debt involved. So it's really a great way for me to perform on stage and be myself, but also gain scholarship money so I can go towards that higher education. And I meet girls like Sierra, Mikey, and Gracie who really have changed my life and made my life completely different just by being in it. So.
Firstly, for me, I'm a resident of Garden Grove, and I love this city so much. I've been part of the court for 2 years now, and I'm so young. I'm only a sophomore at Garden Grove High School, and it has taught me to be so confident in myself, and that's why I love doing this pageant. I was so blessed to be on the court this year. I love my community and I love my high school, and I had a wonderful opportunity to share my platform and really touch people about sharing kindness, and I love to be a part of all of our community events this year.
Great.
Our photographer. I'm making it mobile. One, two, and three. One more. One, two, three. This one. One, two, and three. And good.
Can I get one really quick?
Great. Thank you.
What's up, baby?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks, yeah.
Thank
Thank
you for
you.
everything.
Yeah, I'll be ready.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Burke.
Keep an eye out for her. Good to meet you.
Okay, and now, last but not least, the Garden Grove City Council is honored to acknowledge and celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Garden Grove Main Library. Would Sean Whittle, Library Branch Manager, please come forward? Sean. Garden Grove's first library, located on Garden Grove Boulevard, was founded by the Women's Civic Club of Garden Grove in 1919. In 1921, the Orange County Library System was created and an official Garden Grove branch opened in the downtown area. Located on Stanford Avenue in Garden Grove, the Garden Grove Main Library broke ground in 1968 and opened its doors to the community on November 22nd, 1969. The Garden Grove Main Library was the first regional library in Orange County and was first named Garden Grove Regional Library. Finally, in 2016, it was renamed Garden Grove Main Library. The Garden Grove Main Library was the first major improvement in the Garden Grove Civic Center, with adequate parking, a ramp entrance, an elevator, a reference center, children's department with a story hour room, and a lounge area for leisure reading. Serving as a central hub for information, recreation, resource, and service, the main library reflects diversity, the needs of our community with materials in English, Korean, Spanish, Vietnamese, and more. At this time, the mayor and city council would like to present Sean Whittle with a proclamation honoring the milestone 50th anniversary of the Garden Grove Main Library as they celebrate a half century of service to the Garden Grove community. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Would like to say a few words?
Yes. So thank you. On behalf of OC Public Libraries and the Garden Grove Main Library staff, I would like to thank you for this recognition. We at the Garden Grove Main Library are privileged to be one piece in the array of services offered to Garden Grove residents to contribute to their way of life and their quality of life. We are committed to the partnership with the City of Garden Grove to deliver the best library services to Garden Grove residents. The Garden Grove Main Library serves the city as a central place to provide residents with connections to improve their lives and to increase the social ties neighbors have to each other, to provide access to resources, to enrich and educate through materials and programs, to open up opportunities to bring into the fold disadvantaged and marginalized groups, to build trust in civic organizations through supportive interactions, and to form partnerships with community organizations to build on each other's successes. We look on the past 50 years with pride in what we have accomplished and hope that those who come after us will look back in 50 years and be able to say the same about us. Thank you for this recognition and for your support of the libraries in Garden Grove.
Ready? 1, 2, and 3. One more. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, before we go on to oral communications, with council's approval, we have an item in consent agenda, item 4J, about balanced energy solutions, and the staff would like to table that for this evening's agenda to do a bit more research on it. So with council's approval, we'd like to make that request.
That's great. So we're just going to continue that to a later date, off calendar. Okay, cool. There's a couple other things, just because we'll have a lengthy oral communication session on this, so there's a couple other things I'd like to bring forward. First is written communications 3A. If we can pull that forward before oral, I would appreciate it.
Item,
I know. Good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. Tonight, I'm here to transmit a letter from West Garden Grove Youth Baseball requesting co-sponsorship of their opening day parade on Saturday, February 22nd, 2020. Each year, the West Garden Grove Youth Baseball holds an opening day parade that includes baseball players and softball players in Garden Grove, the Garden Grove Unified School District Board of Education members and school officials, the Miss Garden Grove Corps, and local fire department and the City Council. Co-sponsorship for the 2020 opening day parade will have an impact on the city's general fund. The cost to provide police staff required to close city streets is approximately $2,200. Also included is the rental fee of the showmobile stage and setup costs by Public Works for approximately $500 for a total cost of $2,700. These expenses would be absorbed within the current police and Public Works budgets since it is considered a legacy event. Please note that West Garden Grove Youth Baseball is a 501c3 organization that is in good standing with the Secretary of State's office and the Internal Revenue Service. More than 50% of their participants are Garden Grove residents. This concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of staff?
Move approval.
Please call the vote.
motion received, 7 yes votes.
Okay, if you guys will patronize me, I would also like to pull consent items forward, just because I see some people hanging out in the audience that would otherwise have to probably sit here for a couple. So it's recommended that we already did what, 4A? We're continuing 4J. So it's recommended that we move the balance unless anyone would like to pull any particular items.
Yes, I would like to pull the steel craft, which is 4K.
4K, okay. I'll move the balance.
Mayor, let's make sure that there's no speakers wishing to speak on any item on the consent calendar.
I didn't see any, but we can
Okay.
ask that. Are there any speakers wishing to speak on any particular items that are listed on the consent calendar? Which is item 4 on our agendas. I did review the pinks and I didn't see any, but just.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, call to vote.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Okay, and that takes us back to 4K as pulled by Councilmember Fabui.
Yes, Mayor and colleagues, The reason I would like to put this so that we can discuss a little bit before we can vote. A few years ago, when we approved the Steelcraft lease, it was for 30 years, and at that time, it seemed to be very, a good proposition for our city. And now because they need to do refinancing, so in order to do that, they need to amend the lease term so that it would be 50 years, but now that it's been changed to 55 years. I only have two items that I would like staff to clarify for me before I can vote on it. And that is, number one, this little area that is next to our city I just want to wait until people exit so we can have a focus from the city council and the public. So originally, when we approved the lease for 30 years, I think it's not much of a concern for me, because 30 years seemed like a reasonable amount of times. If we increase it to 55 years, my only reservation is on a couple of things. If we, at a later time, feel that we need that little area next to our city hall for future expansion, it will be difficult to take it back for the city needs. And so that's why I want to put to make sure that after 30 years, if we, for whatever reason, that we need room to grow, that we are not being locked away from that potential, because this is the only piece of land that is next to our city hall. So maybe staff can chime in on that. And the second question that I would like to clarify is, let's just say we approve it for a 55 years lease. Will the owner of Steelcraft can then transfer the lease to another business? And if so, then we probably would have even lesser control of that. So can you please clarify for me before I can vote on it?
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, to respond to Councilmember Bowie's question, the first is the term of the initial lease is for 10 years, and each subsequent extension is for a 5-year period, and so the tenant will have to submit their request at that point in time to request that extension, and so that would be considered at that time.
And then the second question relating to transferring the lease to different businesses?
The tenant only has the ability to transfer with the consent of the city.
Okay, all right, that's all what I need to know. Back to.
So, is that a motion?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to approve this amendment to the lease term from Steelcraft.
Second.
Second, call the vote.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
All right. Thank you for allowing me to kind of mess up our agenda and go out of order there for a little bit, but we will now, is there anything else I overlooked that we should crank out while we're cranking stuff out, or is that, I think that covers it. Okay. We will go back to oral communications. I do have a number of cards, so we're going to adhere to the 3-minute time slot so that Maria knows. Starting with Craig Durfee.
Council and staff, happy Thanksgiving in the audience of Garden Grove. This is a cheerful time of the year. My organization for 23 years is trying to bring a better light of situations that are not being paid attention to. And as such, I've committed a lot of my time into the governor's office, to Congress, to mental health departments, and I have research here that bothers me. That is, we have a new law which I support, animal cruelty now a federal crime after Trump signed a bipartisan bill into law. The Vic Animal Cruelty Torture Pact is a federal ban on animal cruelty outlining purpose, crushing, burning, drowning, suffocating, implement, or violence causing serious bodily injury to animal. Those convicted would face a felony charge up to 7 years in federal prison. It's serious. You have a dog facility. Going from there, you have a California resolution, and it's called Humane Education. And let me just read the first whereas, so you hear my point. Whereas Section 233.5, part of the Hate Violence Prevention Act, and 604.2 of Education Code requires instruction in kindergarten, grade 1 to 12, inclusive promoting and encouraging kindness, not verbal to people, kindness to pets, and humane treatment of animals is not done in Garden Grove. Vice President Terry Walker said not doing it. You have a disconnection between reality of technology, it's a myth, 101, and it's taking kids to cause character degradation, empathy, and violence, and they have no sense of reality of what's life and death. I'm serious. We need to get to community for your law enforcement, child abuse resolution, your mental health resolution. Let's act on these things. Let's just don't pretend it's someone else and Mr. Stiles is going to do your work, okay? The other thing is Chairman of our FCC is proposing 988 number for emergencies for suicide. The next thing is, Mayor, I have been for 8 years supportive of your bike situation, and then I got involved in the very end, you would have lost $1.5 million. Okay, seriously. I've been there for you all along. I like to see you have, as George said, our committees are not meeting enough to make guidance and directions to the future of Garden Grove. We have to find a compass. I have a plan, but it's up to you as a mayor and the council to see the vision that there's homeless issues and there are issues of naysayers. And the only way we're going to win this is to have, which I hope I get the 3 minutes on the other side to speak about it again, is you have to have the vision of Park 63, Prop 60 mental health, and have a mobile recreational team to go in these different locations and teach them kindness to animals. Pause reading programs, bicycle repair, and how ohms and amps work. Have a recreation. I'm talking to your business, Shelley. You know Shelley? Collar and Leash? She wants to get involved. Why don't we just start realizing, while we're in the Prop 68 fund, that we're going to put this together with the community? Okay? Thank you.
Luis Sarmiento.
Good evening. My name is Luis Sarmiento. I'm here for two things. One is to speak in support of the community members from the Willowwick neighborhood and from the community here in Garden Grove who are asking for greater accountability in the project at the Willowwick site. And also, I'm here to share a little bit about something called the Community Land Trust Model, and something I would like the City Council here and staff and everyone to be aware of. I work with an organization called Thrive Santa Ana. We're a community land trust, and we are part of a movement of over 250 cities and communities throughout the United States that are using this Community Land Trust, or CLT model, as a platform so that development can truly be responsive to local and public needs. In particular, this movement is holding public institutions accountable for their use of public resources, so that these public resources create a public benefit. I invite the City of Garden Grove to be part of this movement, and to work with local residents so that your project makes sense, so that it meets the needs that local residents have identified, in particular needs around open space and others that if you're listening to community groups, it will be loud and clear. I personally attended some of the community outreach meetings that occurred around this project, and I can share with you that they were deficient at best. I understand that the city of Garden Grove and the city of Santa Ana spent some money on these consultants, but in fact, there were very key questions that were coming up at these community meetings that were not being answered, nor were there notes being taken about some of these critical questions. Development that does not work with local residents to respond to local needs is not sustainable. In Santana and throughout Central Orange County, where this project is located, such an approach to development has led to a crisis in housing and a lack of open space that has contributed to health disparities of all kinds. I think that you all as public officials are familiar with these health disparities and these forms of inequality that this approach to development has created. So it's only common sense for economic development to be rooted in the needs and vision of local residents, in their needs and in their participation. So that's the invitation for you all to be listening to local residents and their demands and their voices. And if you all are interested in learning more about the community land trust model, I would gladly make myself available for that. Thank you.
Lorena Maria Rodriguez Willens, followed by Dustin Nguyen.
Now, before I begin, I want to confirm the time constraint of 5 minutes. Is that still the standard?
3.
3 minutes?
Yes, thank you.
All right. When does my time begin? Very well. I don't want any more bureaucratic promises. We are asking for the crumbs. We are asking for the bare minimum. We are asking the right to simply exist. City Council, my name is Lorena Maria Rodriguez Willens, and I am the daughter of a Colombian immigrant. I lived in the same address, in the same home for my whole life. And to say in the least, I detest the inactivity and the indifference of this City Council. And when I hear one more bureaucratic promise, I won't be fooled. Your promises have no merit. Your words are empty. I watched tonight what this courtroom, what their definition of democracy looks like. Yes, you did listen to the homeless man who never had housing and asked what he should do when a police officer threatens a fine or, even worse, incarceration because he needs to charge his phone because it's the only outlet he has access to. Yes, you did listen to the advocate for the homeless community, who I have right here behind me, who understands the circumstances that homeless people face in Orange County. And you have a long line of people who wrote down their names who want their voices heard as well. But despite their compliance, despite their civility, and despite their willingness to help, they are told that their time is limited. That was said by City Council member Boy. Take that picture with Sabrosa. Give them that certificate. They deserve it because in your own words, they did help the local economy. And my summer, this summer, with all my friends, would not have been the same if we could not go to Sabrosa to enjoy cheap food here because that's scarce. So what I want to see the City Council do is I want you to act like your institution should. This is a democratic institution. And what I see right here is censorship on all levels. This is where our voices are heard, and yet our time is limited. You have been extended multiple offers of help from these grassroots organizations, and I hope you take that invitation because it seems like there's a discrepancy between the actions of this City Council and the desires of the community that live in it. So I want to know why, or where. Where do we voice these concerns? Because at a federal level, they're not addressed. At a state level, they're not addressed. At a county level, they're not addressed. So it looks like
this city council in front of me are the people who need to start protecting this community, which means listening to what we have to say and not telling us that we don't have enough time to speak to our concerns, but saying, yes, I will act like this is not a 9-to-5 job, and I will attend your events. I will attend your meetings, and I will hear what you have to say about the bureaucratic processes in Orange County. That is how you show us respect. You do not take a picture of us and give us a certificate when the origins of the Sabrosada restaurant came from job insecurity. You cannot enjoy a delicious agua fresca without thinking about how that got there. The struggle that that family faced was something that is very common in the American lifestyle. And so I would ask that you please hear our voices, and please do not give us any more bureaucratic promises. Bernie 2020, thank you.
Dustin Nguyen, followed by Nathaniel Greensides? I can't read the last name on the card.
Good evening, Mayor Jones, council members, and Garden Grove. I'm Dustin Nguyen, a resident of Fountain Valley. I'm here to give my testimony on how I encountered the kingdom of God at Miles Square Park, and how our neighbors in Garden Grove and Santa Ana would benefit so much by having their own park through the Willowick lands. Early on in my spiritual journey, whenever I was mentally in a bad place, I would go to Miles Square Park to look at ducks. I felt so serene. Time stopped. I found rest in a pocket of eternity. Nature is a cathedral in the outdoors, where the quackings of waterfowl are hymns to God. The soft rustling of leaves are whispers from angels, and the breeze on your cheek is a kiss from the Holy Spirit. In my faith tradition, Jesus teaches us in Matthew 6:20 to lay up for ourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. The 102 acres of open green space at Willowick are a priceless gift. There will be other apartment complexes, there will be other shopping centers, but we may never get another chance in this lifetime in central Orange County to build another cathedral in the outdoors. The treasures that truly matter when we leave this world are the positive impacts we leave on others. Imagine kids from Garden Grove and Santa Ana ungluing their tablets and phones from their hands and running and jumping as kids should. Young adults who distrust organized religion, like I once was, yet remain spiritually hungry, may know that same serenity I felt watching ducks. That encounter with the holy at Miles Square Park has led me to look for the holy in all aspects of life. In fact, as we speak, I'm discerning a call to priesthood in the Episcopal Church. Stepping into a cathedral in the outdoors, I came home. Garden Grove and Santa Ana residents too need a park where they can come home to the divine whose power working in us can do infinitely more than we can ask or imagine. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Nathaniel, followed by Roberto Herrera.
Sorry for my poor handwriting. Last name is Greensides. I find it interesting that before we start every council meeting, we have an invocation where we bow our heads in silence and ask for guidance coming from the people who put us here. And then we also turn to a flag, and then we give oath and allegiance to a nation which was created by and for the people. This is what happens every week here in this meeting. And then just before this meeting occurred tonight, you all had a closed-door session with private hands regarding public land for people in Santa Ana. Let me ask all these city council members, how many of you spend more than 50% of your income on housing? Thank you for that. How many of you have a mortgage? You don't have to answer, but let me ask the crowd. How many of you spend more than 30% of your income on housing? The people of this county are sending you a really clear message. I grew up in the Bay Area, and I now call Santa Ana my home. If things don't change, my family won't be able to stay here. Our families won't be able to stay here, and even your own family won't be able to stay here. With new money, in the city where I was born, San Francisco, new money has ruined the city. People can't stay there who have been there for generations. And by not allowing this land that doesn't belong to the city of Garden Grove, that shouldn't, rather, by allowing new money to come in and ruin your own lives as well as everybody here's, it does nobody any good. My comrade Luis spoke a little bit about an alternative solution that could very well work here, could be the spotlight for people everywhere in the state, in our region. I don't know what's going on in the rest of the country. I don't care much about them. But we all here have a choice to make. Do we want to stay here as a community in our city and make it better? Or do we want to give it to new people who have no idea what's happened here and don't care, because if they can't afford it, they'll just move elsewhere and do it to someone else. That's how it's always been. And so, in closing, I just ask you all to consider, as you fall asleep in your bed tonight with a roof over your head, some of the folks who you're supposed to be representing who are not, and that you make the right choice instead of having closed-door sessions with private hands for lands that should be in public hands. Thank you.
Roberto, and then followed by Diana Terreros.
Oh God, everyone's making such passionate speech. I feel unprepared. I applaud all of them for making such great points. My name is Roberto Herrera, and I'm the Director of Community Engagement at Resilience Orange County, a nonprofit organization. We focus on youth organizing, youth leadership, and youth development. And part of that is tied to the social emotional well-being of youth. And parks are a part of that process. Open space is a part of that process. I am a resident of Santana. I live in the neighboring area of the Willowick Park. And so I have seen the benefit for Santana residents to have access to that park. I really echo the calls for the Rise Up Willowick group to maintain the park, a public land and open space, right? And yeah, that's what I'm really here for, is to support you all and encourage you all to really make this an open, transparent process, and to hear from those that are directly impacted in the neighborhood. And yeah, I think the collaborative piece between the city of Santana and the city of Garden Grove to make this better for both residents, because it is a collaborative project. So listen to the residents, keep this an open green space. Thank you.
After Diana is Marla Sanchez.
Hi, my name is Diana, and my comment is regarding the Willowick land as well. Garden Grove is not acting in accordance to the Surplus Land Act, and that will have direct tangible effects on the surrounding community. The current plan for the land will result in rising rents that can displace the surrounding residents, gentrification, and less green space for the community. Garden Grove must act in the accordance to the Surplus Land Act, not just because it's the law, but because it's the right thing to do for the residents. So I echo my comrades in that the residents need to be heard, and that the city must do what they're recommending for that land. Thank you.
After Marla is Jonathan Bakamoff.
Hi, my name is Marla Sanchez, and this is my daughter, Zella. I'm here with my other daughter as well. We live one street over from the Willowick Golf Course. We can see the trees from our house, and I went to school in Garden Grove for K through 12th, so I have been on both sides. And I'm asking for more transparency around this project. I'm a single mom, and I take care of my 2 daughters. We have a homeschooling co-op at our house, and I also caretake for my grandmother, who's in her mid-80s. They moved into that house in the early 50s when my grandfather came back from the Korean War, and he would often talk about, before he died, how our house would be in danger from projects that would come in and displace us. We've already experienced, because we're low income, displacement from being able to participate in all of the development and restaurants and everything that's going on in downtown Santa Ana. And it really breaks my heart that my kids don't really have anywhere to go. The park that we have there is in really bad condition, and there's not a lot of access to places for them to go. They both skateboard, our whole family skateboards, and there's no skateboarding parks that we can get to. And recently, we've been kind of stranded because we've run out of gas. We don't have money for gas to get to those parks. We have such an opportunity for both of our cities to do something so great for all of the residents of Orange County, Santa Ana especially, because there's so many high density right there in that area. We really need spaces to exist for free. I'm trying to bring my family up. I'm trying to bring my community up, but we need the help from elected officials on both sides to do what's best for the people. My kids deserve a park just as much as your kids, your grandkids, and I think that we really need to think about, what are these kids coming up with? Are they looking at their officials and seeing that you're listening to what they need to grow up as healthy, well-rounded adults? Or are they looking and seeing that what they need and what they want doesn't matter? I really, really beg you guys to take that into consideration, and instead of just looking out for those people that have money, look at all of us. We all deserve space. We all deserve greenery. That space is so beautiful. I remember when I was a kid, before it was paved, all of the nature that existed there, and that's already going down so fast. And the more development we put there, the worse it's going to get. Please keep it green.
After Jonathan is Sean Drexler.
All right. Hello, Garden Grove. I'm Jonathan Abakuma. It's kind of a weird last name, so I don't blame me for saying it wrong. That's all right.
Sorry about that.
All right. So I have a couple statements, thanks to a comrade of mine who's also in the audience. So wanted to come up and stand and say something about the Willowick Golf Course. So here we go. So we assert that Garden Grove is obligated to follow the Surplus Land Act, or otherwise known as the SLA as it stands. Garden Grove is not acting in accordance with California law. And by issuing a request for proposals without prioritizing the publicly owned land for open space or affordable housing, Garden Grove is not operating within the California Surplus Land Act. As such, a lawsuit has been started as of October 7th against Garden Grove for failing to follow the SLA, Surplus Land Act. Despite this lawsuit, the city of Garden Grove is moving forward to dispose of land before January 2020. So it's coming up real soon here. So a lot of us here, we all demand that the city follows that Surplus Land Act and honor the community's vision for Willowick. You might be seeing a lot of these statements Reese said. Without community oversight, we risk devastating effects for residents of the Willowick area, like skyrocketing rents, gentrification, and even less open space for residents. Friends of Harbors and Beaches and Parks published the Willowick Golf Course as one of the sites on their Green Vision Map. This means that Willowick is identified as a parcel that is a clear opportunity for communities in central Orange County to gain access to 102 acres of public green space. Now, from a legal and ethical standpoint, the city of Garden Grove must comply with the Surplus Land Act and prioritize public use for the land. Thank you very much.
Sean, followed by Gilbert Sanchez.
Hello, my name is Sean Drexler. I'm a member of the Rise Up Willowick Coalition. Last month, a lawsuit, Willowick Golf Course is, we'll start with the Surplus Land Act. It requires that development of publicly owned land give priority to open space and affordable housing. Willowick Golf Course is such a piece of public land, 102 acres to be exact. A whole lot can be done with that space. Parks, sports fields, community gardens, affordable housing. There's enough acres for all of these things and more. We have reached out to the city multiple times to present our vision of how this space can be used to benefit the residents in the Willowick area. Nevertheless, Garden Grove has issued a request for proposals without prioritizing the publicly owned land for open space or affordable housing. Garden Grove is therefore breaking the law. Last month, a lawsuit was filed on account of this. Initially, the city said they would hold off on any process for disposition until January 2020. But now the city has moved forward to dispose of the land behind closed doors without community input or community oversight. This is the opposite of what the city said they would do, which would be to hold off on any process for disposition until January 2020. That the city has gone back on its word is extremely disappointing and should give us all pause. The move to rush the disposition before the end of the year, when new and stronger protection laws for public land go into effect, is a cynical attempt to profit off of this public land rather than listening to and honoring the vision of residents whose lives are affected by such a decision. Clearly, the city has a premeditated plan that they don't want to deviate from. But I encourage the council to try something different. Try letting the community lead. Try prioritizing people over profits. You know it's the right thing to do, and in this particular case, it's actually also the law, so follow the law.
After Gilbert is Keith Costello.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Gilbert Sanchez. Although I'm not a resident of Garden Grove, I grew up next to Hazard in Santa Ana part of it, and I lived there most of my 30 years prior to now that I'm 66 years. Anyway, that area has always been considered by the city of Santa Ana and Garden Grove when I was there as the unwanted child of both cities. I can still remember there being no sidewalks there. There wasn't even a fence to protect us from when the golf balls came bouncing into our yards. But anyway, I survived that. But I'm challenging the city council members to please consider that being a green space. I mean, you have an opportunity here, and I challenge you to, I know there's probably pressure on you from these money people, but for once, don't listen to them, because if they'll be here and they'll be gone, but the children will be here, the residents of that area will be here for a long, long time, like myself. And you have an opportunity to have green space here. Consider that now. It's a law that you must consider that, and I'm asking you to do so. And thank you for your time. I appreciate your effort in this situation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Keith Costello, and then Abelaha? Haber? Sorry. Abdallah.
Hi, I'm
hard to
Keith
read.
Costello, resident of North Orange County. I don't have any prepared statements. I think everyone's been eloquent enough. They've expressed what they want. I've lived here my entire life. I was raised in these schools. And I think that's something that we haven't really touched on, is like the gentleman who was talking about how he lived here his entire life and now he's homeless. I think something we don't talk about is that we don't go anywhere. If you gentrify our neighborhood, if you put Irvine Company real estate on that land, we'll just be here. We'll be in our cars. We'll be on the Santa Ana riverbed, where a lot of us have been. I used to go down there, I still do. Now they've been relocated, whatever that means. I used to go hand out sandwiches and take care of those people by the Century 25 Theater, by Angel Stadium. And you go down there and, like 1,000 people are living there. And they are residents. They are born and raised in Orange County. And so now we see all these people moving in here, whether it be I heard Amazon at one point was trying to move in here. That was like a real thing. And it's just disgusting, really, because you guys, as well as Santa Ana and I mean, obviously, Orange County Board of Supervisors hasn't done anything either, have continued to not listen to the people. And what we want is, we want community gardens, we want green spaces, we want like a beautiful park, and, you know, and we want housing. Housing is a human right. People need a roof over their heads. So just give us what we want. What we want is housing, green spaces, and a farm.
Abdallah, followed by Jessica.
Everyone has shared their personal struggles with respect to the Willowick property, and I'll share mine. Born and raised here, I'm struggling with rent, and yet with a simple bureaucratic process separated from the needs of the community, you can exponentially increase the concerns I have about paying my rent. You can probably just move elsewhere or just match the raise in rent prices, but I can't. I will not benefit from luxury homes. I will not benefit from a new stadium. I will not benefit from new tech startup businesses or any private ownership of this public land. None of my family will. None of my underserved community will. If this public land is turned into this kind of business, you are further displacing residents as well as decreasing my quality of life. On a smaller note, I've played soccer all my life, and the fact that it is a burden to get an open green space to play a simple game of soccer is absolutely ridiculous. This should not be a luxury for residents, and you have an opportunity to address this particular issue with 102 acres of land. Stop perpetuating the cycle of oppression, follow the SLA, and act in accordance with California law and the desire of your constituents.
Jessica, followed by Isuri Ramos.
My name is Jessica. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm not a resident of Garden Grove, but I do work here, and I work specifically with the youth here of Garden Grove. I see every single day of every single week how our environment shapes their socialization, shapes how they regard their surroundings, and how they're affected by the decisions that people like you are making. Quality of life will change drastically for your community if you choose to fast-track the disposition of Willowick, but it's easy to ignore those that are going to be immediately affected when you're purposely choosing to tune them out of a conversation and close meetings when they should be involved in those conversations. It's important that you two stand in solidarity and support Rise Up Willowick. Your community's livelihoods are depending on your support, and it's more than important. Saying that it's important is an understatement that you do need to listen to them. It's also very telling that when people are up here expressing their very legitimate concerns, some of you are exchanging looks and are grinning back and forth at each other. We're all watching you. We're all watching you, and you're doing it as we're watching you. So that says a lot about the support of your constituents as well.
Isuri, and then followed by Sandra Deanda.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Isuri Ramos, and I'm here speaking on behalf of the Kennedy Commission. The Kennedy Commission is a nonprofit organization that does affordable housing advocacy for families with extremely low incomes in Orange County. And tonight we're here to speak in support of the Rise Up Willowick Coalition. During tonight's closed session meeting, this council discussed negotiations to dispose of Willowick, and this action went against the city's October 9th response to a lawsuit against the city for violation of the Surplus Lands Act. So you've heard this today, and we just ask that you act in good faith and that you listen to this community. You listen to Rise Up Willowick. They're a group of residents from both Santana and Garden Grove that understand their needs. They are the experts, and they are asking you to fulfill your duty, and please listen to them. So our public lands, those 102 acres at Willowick, present an opportunity for responsible development. That's an opportunity to develop the lands for public good and provide necessities such as open space and affordable housing. The folks that spoke earlier today were not with the coalition, but they spoke about the need for affordable housing. They spoke about the homelessness issues that your community is facing, and the city of Santana is facing the same ones. So this is your opportunity to improve the quality of life for families in both Santana and Garden Grove. And I just ask that you listen to all of the residents. I have personally spoken of their plights and their need for this land to be developed responsibly. Thank you.
So Sandra, and then followed by Penelope Lopez.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Sandra. I'm a member of the Rise Up Willowick Coalition. I believe that people need green spaces where they can relax with their families, play with their children, but I also believe that the community should have a say on the type of development brought into their communities. Yet the cities of Santa Ana and Garden Grove are working to turn one of the last remaining green spaces in Central OC into a mixed-use residential and commercial project. According to a green vision map developed by Friends of Harbors and Beaches, Willowick is identified as a parcel of land that is a clear opportunity for communities in Central Orange County to gain access to 102 acres of public green space. It's obvious that green spaces improve the livelihood of any type of individual, any type of community. But yet it does not appear that you all care about the Latinx and Vietnamese community living around the Willowick Golf Course, two communities that have been historically displaced all around the world. If you're having closed meetings without being transparent, I don't think that you are doing your job as City Council and as residents of this city. We want a democratic process. We are tired of private developers. We are tired of being evicted. We are tired of our community being overlooked time and time again. A lot of people overlook our communities because they're refugees, because they're working class people, they're undocumented, and these are the people that are gonna come here every week if we have to claim that land that belongs to us.
Penelope, followed by, does it say Jesse Lopez?
Hello, my name is Penelope, and I'm here in support of Rise Up Willowick. And to remind all of you that your role as City Council members is to represent your community, to listen to community, and to stand with the community. The Willowick Golf Course should not be privatized. It is a community asset that should be used to improve the lives of families and youth. The Willowick Golf Course should be a safe, inclusive, and accessible green space for the community. It should not be sold to developers to gentrify and displace families and individuals. Follow the law and do your duty as elected officials. You were elected by the people to represent the people, not developers. Put people over profit.
Jesse, followed by Michelle Zuniga.
Good evening. My name is Jessie Lopez, and I am a resident of Santana and a Rise Up Willowick member. I am here tonight because I firmly believe that green spaces are not just a pleasant amenity, but help serve as a foundation to build community and can fundamentally and positively impact the quality of life of all residents. While I am not a Garden Grove resident, I am a District 1 constituent, and I am deeply disappointed in how the city's leadership has decided to fast-track the disposition of Willowick. Elected officials should be open to having a conversation about what its community members need the most. We are here once again to ask that you include all stakeholders in the decision-making process. Thank you.
Michelle, followed by Karen Rodriguez.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Michelle Zuniga, and I'm a member of Rise Up Willowick. I'm here because I'm worried about the potential displacement that can be induced with the development ideas proposed for the Willowick Golf Course. In the past couple of months, I've gone door knocking on several homes surrounding the Willowick area. Many residents mentioned they were not familiar with the development, and when I shared with them the ideas that had been proposed, like a stadium or market rate apartments, many people were surprised and worried about what that would do not only to parking and traffic in their area, but worried about what that would mean for exacerbating the issues of homelessness and their cost of living in the area. When I asked many people what they would like to see on the Willowick Golf Course, many people mentioned they would like to see it remain as a park due to the lack of quality parks in the area. And many mentioned they would like to see some housing that is truly affordable for the community, since many residents are low income. I'm here today to urge you all to follow the Surplus Lands Act, where parks and affordable housing is prioritized. I urge you all to honor your word and to not dispose of Willowick because behind closed doors and to reconsider plans for Willowick by first adopting a community-led process towards a just outcome, an outcome that will help protect renters and homeowners from displacement. And while I went door to door, many residents told me they don't care about us, they want us out of here anyway. I assume this was in reference to those who can make decisions about what goes on in the Willowick site. I hope looking forward the City Council of Garden Grove can be more transparent about the development process, conducting a more intentional planning process with residents, listening to the needs and struggles of the people who live on the perimeter of the Willowick Golf Course, and following the Surplus Lands Act that prioritizes parks and affordable housing for the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am Karen Rodriguez, a member of the Rise Up Willowick Coalition. We are here once again to demand that the City of Garden Grove be transparent and accountable to the people of the community. We have been asking for months for the City of Garden Grove to meet with residents and the coalition to discuss our community vision. 102 acres of public land should be used to address our needs and prioritize our wants. In our vision, we deserve access to green space, open space, affordable housing, community centers, the list goes on. And we refuse to allow decision makers to speak for us and rule in a way that will push us out, displace us, and erase us. Do not dispose of our land in the dark. The City of Garden Grove has a responsibility to follow the law and engage in a discussion with its community members. Thank you.
Okay, that is the last of the cards I have. Is there anyone else wishing to speak during oral? Okay. Seeing none, thank you. You're a very impassioned group, and we appreciate you being here, and thank you very much for being very courteous and professional. Sure. Please come on forward.
Please do not view us as passionate people with just a little message that we have. We're not just passionate, we're panicking. This is anxiety. This is the anxiety that is manifesting in front of you. So no, this is not passionate. That isn't a compliment to us. We want action. We want protection for our community, and we do not want bureaucratic promises.
Thank you. Okay, and with that, we will close oral communications. We're going to now move to conduct other agency business. We'll go to successor agency. Madam Clerk, would you like to call roll?
Member Brightingham?
Here.
Member O'Neill?
Here.
Member Tu Ha Nguyen?
Here.
Member Klopfenstein? Here. Member Kim Nguyen?
Here.
Vice Chair Bowie?
Yeah.
And Chair Jones?
Here. Okay, we already did oral communication simultaneously with City Council. That moves us on to consent items. The only consent item is receive and file the meeting minutes.
Move to approve. Second.
Go ahead.
Move.
Second.
Call to vote.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Just going to wait a second for everybody to clear out. Who wants to?
Especially because we kind of did something a little unique tonight. We did a little unique tonight, taking things out of order.
Okay, matters from agency members. Seeing none, we will adjourn to sanitary district.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could have the clerk call roll for the sanitary district.
Member Bowie?
Yeah.
Member Jones?
Here.
Member Klopfenstein? Here. Member Kim Nguyen?
Here.
Member Tuha Nguyen?
Yeah.
Vice President Brigham?
Here.
And President O'Neill.
Here. Thank you. We already have done oral communications simultaneously. We have 2 consent items tonight. I have a motion on the receive and file the minutes and acceptance of a sewer project.
So moved.
Motion is second. Call for the vote.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Thank you very much. We do have one item for consideration tonight. It's an award of a contract for a sewer system rehabilitation. I believe we probably have a staff report from Mr. Bill Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Tonight, the board is asked to award a contract to In Situ Form Technologies Incorporated to line sewer lines and perform spot repairs in an area centrally located at the intersection of Newland and Garden Grove Boulevard. Your staff report should have a project location map shown as attachment 1. The work will include lining almost 17,450 linear feet of 8-inch sewer main and will include 9 spot repairs in that area. All work will be done at a cost of just over $1.1 million. The board should note that this work is being done at about 20% of the cost it would take to reconstruct the sewer lines using conventional methods. Staff received and opened 4 bids on October 23rd of this year and determined that In Situ Form Technologies was the lowest responsible bidder. Should the board decide to award the contract tonight, the contractor can begin work next February and will be complete by the end of summer. This work was included in this year's capital improvement plan and will be paid for with sewer enterprise funds. This concludes staff's report, and I'm available should you have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Any questions for staff?
President, I have a couple questions.
Go right ahead.
On the project, the lining, does this restrict the flow in any way, or how thick is this lining we're talking about?
It does just a little bit. The lining tends to be anywhere from 3/4 to a 1/2 inch thick.
So it'll impede it, but not by that much.
Not a lot, and plus it's more. It ends up it's an epoxy with some fiberglass in it, so once it's put into place, you have a plastic, for lack of better terms, more like a plastic pipe within the existing clay pipe, and it's pretty smooth and it flows very well.
How much more life do we give our system by
These
doing
products generally extend the life by about 20 years.
as opposed to redoing the whole thing? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, one question.
Mr. Bowie.
A lot of times, residents in Garden Grove face sewage pipe being, the roots of the tree get into the pipe and causing a lot of damage to, to be repaired. Some of the repair bear by the city if it is in the main pipe, or if it is at the connection to the pipe, then there is a possibility that the resident will have to pay for the repair, which is running anywhere between $10,000 and $20,000. So is this lining will help improving that condition where root can enter between the two pipe and then damage it further?
Usually the sewer mains are located in the center line of the street or just offset, maybe 10 or 15 feet from the center line. So we really don't see any root intrusion into the sewer mains unless it's by a city tree that would be in a median. The types of situation that you're talking about refers to the sewer laterals as it traverses from the sewer main up to the, say, a residence. And so this really won't have any impact. Those roots generally don't get out to the main. They just impact the lateral. And that's not what we're addressing. We're just addressing the main.
Even at the area where the lateral connect to the main line?
Yeah, unless the main is really close to the curb and gutter, to the edges of the street, there really isn't an opportunity for a tree to grow and have roots that extend all the way out to the center of the street.
What about smaller intercity street? Let's just say for Floral, for example, it have only one lane in each direction, which is a much smaller street.
Yeah, generally the roots will extend out as far as the canopy of the tree. So we have some trees that reach that far, but there's not a lot of them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion from anybody?
Moved.
Second.
Second. Call for the vote.
Motion receives, 7 yes votes.
All right. Any matters from board members? Seeing none, we'll adjourn until the next meeting, January 28th, 2020. Thank you. Back to City Council.
Okay, we already did consent. That would take us on to items. Why don't we take a quick break? Mr. Stiles?
Where are we?
Okay,
We're at 5A.
shall reconvene, and we'll go on to 5A, items for consideration.
Item 5A is approval of a purchase and sale agreement of the vacated portion of Brady Way and maintenance agreement for the remaining portion of the street, and City Attorney Sandoval is here to give the report.
Mayor, members of the City Council, this is an item that you've seen twice before, and this is the third and last time you probably are going to see it. If you recall, we vacated this portion of Brady Way. We entered into a license agreement for Rexford Industrial, the new property owner for the former sports facility. And now that the street has been vacated, we have a purchase and sale agreement. We had agreed to a price of $22 per square foot, and that is reflected on the updated report. And the reason we had to update the report is because there is going to be an easement that needs to be granted to Chevron for facilities they need to install that the state of California is requiring them to install. So based on the updated report, the final price is going to be $873,620. And with that, our recommendation, in addition to that, there's a separate maintenance agreement where they're agreeing to maintain the landscaping that they're going to install on their site pursuant to the land use entitlements and extend that to the north portion of the street, including the portion of the street that's not vacated. The city will reimbursement for those costs, and so there's a separate maintenance agreement that stipulates to that. So the staff recommendation is for you to approve both the purchase and sale agreement, approve the maintenance agreement, and authorize the city manager not only to execute those agreements, but if there's any last minute, revisions that need to be included. One of them would be close of escrow. The date for close of escrow, then the city manager will have the authority to approve those amendments to these agreements. And that's a staff report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. And we do have representatives from Rexford Industrial in the audience if you have questions of them as well. I think they would love to have questions from you.
All right, any questions of staff or legal counsel?
I have one quick question. I mean, I recall you'd gone over this with us already before and told us about that Chevron easement. This is just a case of it didn't get backed out of the original thing and they had to go back and
Well, when Chevron did notify us a couple of months when we were already in this process, and we were working with them to see if they can limit and reduce the size. There's already another easement that the gas company has similar facilities, and we were hoping that Chevron would have a similar footprint. But in the end, Chevron provided us information indicating that the 30 by 40 square foot site is what they're going to need to install the facilities. So that's just the final, and that's why that's the number.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Do we
actually, I do
care to
have-
hear anything from?
I do have a
Representative?
quick question for the, I guess we call it the applicant? Is that
Come on
what
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on up if you like.
Right.
Thanks for being here, and thanks for waiting patiently through a lot of comments.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me. James Long with Rexford.
I do have a quick question for you, and thank you for coming again. So when should we see some activity start there at that center once this has been approved, as far as the face kind of changing a little bit and things start moving?
Sure, that's a great question. Actually, we've submitted drawings through the city. We're working through that process. We've received drawings back from the city with plan check requirements. We intend to resubmit them December 2nd, December 1st. So what is that, next week? So we're real close. Once we get those drawings back, once we get plan check and a permit pulled, then I think you'll see activity happen pretty quickly.
Great.
We're
That'd be
anxious to get it started, too.
Sometime after the first year, then, obviously.
I think that's a fair assessment. And I think we've got some approvals that, push us maybe into February, so.
Well, thank you very
We're
much.
anxious.
Well, we do thank you for coming to our community.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
All righty. Any other questions, comments, motion?
Move approval.
Call the vote.
Motion, motion received, 7 yes votes.
Okay, that takes us on to ordinances for second reading and adoption. We do have second reading of and adoption of ordinance number 2911 pertaining to amending the animal and fire department related regulations.
That's correct. This is the second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2911, and it is entitled, "An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Grove amending various provisions of the municipal code pertaining to animal control and services formerly performed by the fire department that are being transferred to other departments and to the Orange County Fire Authority, including revisions to fireworks regulations."
Okay, any questions, comments? Motion?
Motion.
Call the vote.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Okay, moves on to matters. We do have one listed, item 7A, pertaining to our ERP subcommittee update from Councilmember Bowie.
Mayor and City Council, I'm very happy to report to the Council that based on my conversation with the ERP team, we make very good progress, and we are on time, on budget. Staff have went through risk assessment, and there is no known risk at this time. We had go through the procurement of key equipment and software. During the next few months, staff will continue to work with business community to finalize the requirements and the design. And we are on track to finish and go live by summer of 2020. So what we are going to do next would be the team will continue to go through some prototypings and software installation by March or spring. I direct staff to give probably a sneak preview of the prototype screen and the interface sometime in April. So if everything goes as planned, we will finish the project by summer of 2020. Of course, any mission critical system such as this one, it requires everyone to work hard together to get to the finish line. During the first 6 months of the years, business community in the department that are affected by phase one will have to work extra hard to, number one, fulfill their everyday duty. But on top of that, they will have to start using the system and give feedback so that by the time we go to user acceptance, they're already familiar with the softwares. And if we need to make any adjustment, then that will be the time that we do. And I think the IT department and the contractor is working very hard. Business community, especially in finance, have been working also hard to tighten the requirements and the risk assessment. And hopefully everything will be still on time and on budget, and we'll finish the software by the summer of 2020. And that's conclude my update report to the council. If you have any question, I would be glad to answer it.
Mr. Mayor, to the council members, just I know from a staff standpoint, we want to thank Councilmember Bowie for his assistance. He's kind of our one-member subcommittee on the ERP project. He's obviously very familiar with these processes, worked through them through his own professional career. But and I know the mayor and I have had a couple conversations about the ERP system. I know we'd be happy to, if anybody ever wants a little briefing, Patricia Song and Anand Rao are really on point working through this process with us. It is a big project. You approved a lot of money to take this to really modernize our system. That first phase that Councilman Bowie talked about is our financial system that will expect to come online later next summer, and that'll be the end of the first phase. And then we'll, as he said, we'll be going on to the second phase, which is the payroll, HR functions, and all of that sort of stuff. So we'll continue to bring back updates to the council, but we'll specifically continue to be briefing Councilman Bowie on the project throughout. So.
Okay, matters, we'll go around the horn. Anybody?
First and foremost, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I know it's coming up here. I hope everybody has time with their families, and I hope everybody in the city of Garden Grove has the opportunity to partake with their families as well. Just a shout out to my son. He's getting sworn into the bar next Monday, so congratulations to little George. Little George, he's as big as I am. We attended an event last weekend. Chris Spann, our former city councilman here, was promoted to the rank of commander in the U.S. Navy. Just want to put out a congratulations for our former councilman, Chris Spann. And then lastly, Jingle Jam is on December 5th at Eastgate Park. It's always a great time, get a great community turnout.
You got that voice, you don't really need the
Boy, thank you. Got to turn the on button on. Anyway, Jingle Jam is December 5th, and over at Eastgate Park, and it's a really positive community event. It's become a kind of a go-to event, a lot of Christmas things there. Bring the kids, family out there, and have a good time in the city of Garden Grove at the Jingle Jam.
I just wanted
Jingle
to,
John.
yeah, just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Please, if you have the opportunity to spend time with family or loved ones. I just wanted to mention at this time before Thanksgiving, you're going to have family together. Please double check your smoke detectors, change your batteries. We had a pretty devastating fire, District 2 residential fire. Thank God nobody died or no major injuries, but it pretty much devastated the home and 2 vehicles. So check your smoke detectors. Be very cognizant of extra electrical cords at the Christmas and all that. So just be safe, and God bless. That's it. Thanks.
Well, happy Thanksgiving from my family to yours, and be safe. At the same time, I just want to say happy birthday to my husband, who we celebrated 2 days ago. So happy birthday to honey.
Cool. Kim.
Happy Thanksgiving from Einstein and I. And on that note regarding fires, please make sure that if you have pets at home that you stop by Public Works and make sure you get one of those little stickers for your house so that public safety officers, firefighters, whoever will know that you have animals inside if you're not home and a number to be reached. Hopefully we'll get we have window decals, but I'm hoping that we'll get stickers soon because those of us, like myself, who live in apartments don't have front-facing windows where we could stick those on, so work in progress. But make sure you have that and you indicate what type of animal and how many animals you have and a number to be reached.
As Councilmember Bridingham mentioned, there was a promotion ceremony for former Councilmember Chris Phan over the weekend. And while there, I had the pleasure of being asked on stage to accept a gift on behalf of the city. Let me see if I can grab it carefully. Former Councilmember and Commander Chris Phan is giving the city an American flag. I'll hold it up so you can see it. And this was flown over Guantanamo Bay on 9/11 of this year. So this is a gift to all of us, and I think that we'll be able to present, or actually display this proudly at City Hall. And with that was a certificate just commemorating the gift. And so hopefully we can also place that on display as well. It was a wonderful ceremony for a wonderful man, and just an honor to be there and support him and thank him again for such a gracious gift on behalf of the city of Garden Grove.
And a new judge as well.
Yes, an immigration judge in Sacramento as well. Yes, very accomplished.
Just want to say happy Thanksgiving, and I would like to echo along with my colleagues George and Stephanie. Yes, we was at the Chris Phan event last weekend. It's a double joy for Chris. He is now a Navy commander. and also a federal church. He will be moving to Sacramento and work there, and so occasionally, hopefully, he will be able to come down here and see us. Chris, about 6 months or years ago, I talked to Chris, and he have contemplating in moving to Orange County and run for OC Church. He doesn't have to do that anymore. He is now even better, a federal church. So it turned out to be a very happy moment for his family and his friends. And congratulations, Chris, if you happen to see this city council. Anyway, as Thanksgiving again, happy Thanksgiving, and please drive safe. I know it's a joyful event with family reunions. If you rings, maybe you might want to take Ubers. Thank you.
Also, happy Thanksgiving, and also congratulations to Commander Chris Van. It was an honor for me to be there and get to present some welcoming remarks to a large and festive crowd that night. So in the past, we used to have Winterfest at Atlantis Park. We also used to have a tree lighting ceremony at Village Green. And for the last couple years, we've had an exotic car show and winter toy drive, the OC Drive on Main Street. And this year, in a magical trifecta of coolness, we're going to bring all three of those events together for the second annual Winter in the Grove. That's going to be on Saturday, December 7th from 3 to 7 p.m. at Village Green Park. So we will do the tree lighting ceremony that night. We will have snow and all kinds of different attractions for families and the kids. We will have possibly a Santa and Miss Claus type of appearance. And all of the exotic cars from my boys, Tam and Jason, Gary and Sean Lee and the Purist Group and whatnot doing the OC Drive. So please come out. Scott?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, council members, kind of along the same vein, our community relations staff wanted me to remind all of our viewers that, this Friday is Black Friday, and of course our Buy in Garden Grove campaign kicks off. They specifically wanted to mention to everyone that as one of the biggest shopping days of the year approaches, I'm not a very big shopper, but a lot of people are. I'd like to remind the community about the importance of supporting the local business economy through participation in the city's end of the year Shop Local campaign. Black Friday goes big, Buy in Garden Grove. For every $50 in total purchases made from Black Friday, November 29th through December 20th, at any Garden Grove business, shoppers will have the opportunity to win $500 or a one-night stay at the Great Wolf Lodge, Southern California. Just all people have to do is save your receipts and bring them to the Garden Grove Chamber of Commerce. By December 20th, they calculate everything, get you in the raffle. And just remember, when you shop local, you support all of our small businesses and help keep needed tax dollars in the city for services like public safety, roads, parks, and other quality of life needs. So you can always go online, learn more by visiting ggcity.org/BIGG. So just wanted to share that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Huh?
Speak under, on the closed session item.
Okay. Please come forward. What's that?
The rules are rules. I'm just teasing.
Well,
I'll be facetious.
it's-
I'll be quiet.
Thank you. I was going to say, we've already let you speak twice. Please come up, but keep it to
the
it.
rules. I'm following the rules.
We're making an exception to the rule. Please come up for 3 minutes.
I acknowledged it before she missed it, okay? It's a clerk error, okay? So that's a fact, okay? You're the mayor, I'm a citizen, that's the rules, okay? Fair enough? Thank you. What I'd like to say, you've done a great job with your park plan, and this Willow thing is a very opportunity to mix it so that you have people to work for Lodge and the hotels, because they're not going to make the 30, 40 bucks an hour to find a nice house if you continue to move them out. So all your economic engines that I have 40 years with the college, okay? I don't have the wherewithal the mayor has education. But common sense says you continue to build, price goes up. People have the jobs to do the work with the hotels. Pretty soon, as they said, you're not going to have an economy, okay? And it's going to be the parks or what your park recreation consultant said you need. And I think with having the homeless there as far as the alternative to get off the street, so your parks are not damaged by it, by those in the community, say boo to homeless. You're not making any sense of it. You've already done the city since I was here as a child. It was to be cow pastures. Now you've got it to now the people, by the governor says, you could take a garage and make it a home out of it. Wow, where's the parking going to come from? You're overbuilding. And what's going to happen is people who get into sociology, they get into a maze, more rats put in, and more violence goes up. That has been a tradition for 40 years in college. You just go ahead and do what you want, but eventually it's going to catch up with our city. And when you have a master plan that says we want this and that's what's happening, you're not doing it, and you have naysayers in this community who are not understanding the mental health issue that this park can provide, you're only biting your own tail. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will now adjourn back to closed session. Thank you.